had a Thanksgiving dinner that couldn't be beat and ended up with an amazing pile of garbage.
And we decided that it would be a friendly gesture for us to take the garbage down to the town dump. So we took the half a ton of garbage and put it in the back of a red VW microbus, took shovels and rakes and other implements of destruction, and we headed off toward the town dump. But when we got to the town dump, we had never heard of a dump closed on Thanksgiving before. And with tears in our eyes, we drove off looking for another place to put the garbage. We didn't find one until we came to a side road, and off on the side of the side road was a 15-foot cliff. And at the bottom of the cliff was another pile of garbage, and we decided that one big pile was better than two little ones. Rather than bring that one up, we decided to throw ours down. That's what we...
Hello and welcome to Book versus Movie, the podcast where we read books that have been adapted into movies and then we try to decide which we like better, the book or the movie. I am Margot P. of coloniabook.com and this is my good friend and co-host, Margot D., our Brooklyn Fit Chick.
Hi, everyone.
So it's officially summer. We were just talking about like how sweaty we are right now. It's not too bad in San Diego right now, but I am about to, we're going into 4th of July weekend, which is always steamy around here, and Margot is on the very, very warm East Coast. Mm-hmm. And so we thought, why not try a little Americana Guthrie family goodness. We're going to be talking about Alice's Restaurant. Now, before we get into all of that, welcome. We're glad you're here. I know we're going to get a lot of things wrong.
I think we should lead with that. Yeah.
Oh boy, there's going to be a lot to unpack. We're doing another song to movie. So Alice's Restaurant, if you're familiar with the film and maybe not familiar with the song, not based on a book. When we start, we've been doing this podcast for going on 11 years, and we try to give you a brand new episode every single week. And that means we have to kind of stretch a little bit what we say book to mean any kind of movie that's been adapted from some kind of original source. And sometimes it's a book, sometimes it's a novel, it's fiction, it's nonfiction, sometimes it's a song, a magazine article, a poem, a play. Today is a song to movie. We've done a few songs to movies. There are quite a few of them out there. And today we're going to be talking about Arlo Guthrie's Alice's Restaurant. We are still looking for ideas for this summer. We have spooky movies coming up in October. We have, of course, the holidays coming up. And we have certain months of the year where we do themes, but the rest of the time we're just looking for ideas. There's lots of places where you can make your suggestions, where you can see what books and movies have we covered in the past, meet other listeners of the podcast, and interact with us on the internet.
Yes, we do have a basic Facebook page. Be sure to like it. The episodes are posted there, but we're much more interactive in our private Facebook group. So you type in Book VS Movie Podcast Group and ask to join. We really do just talk about books and movies there. It's a really nice, safe place to kind of hang out in Facebook. And we have a couple of posts that keep going from Thaddeus, our group leader. One is a list of the shows we've covered in the past, and one is a list of ideas for the future. So absolutely do that if you do have Facebook. It's really helpful. Other places you can reach us, we're on Threads, Instagram, and Blue Sky. And at all those places, we're at Book Versus and Movie. You spell out versus into those. And then we have an old-timey email, Book Versus Movie Podcast, spell it out, at gmail.com. We just ask that the source, the literary source, has to be easy to get your hands on. We were just talking about, we've talked about in the past, Fast Times at Ridgemont High is a very popular when people say we should do that when Margot went to the high school that it's based on.
We would love to.
We would love to. That book is not available. You have to spend $70 for a paperback from eBay. So it has to be something we can get our hands on. And the movie needs to be on a major streaming app, or the full movie needs to be on YouTube. That's all we ask.
Yeah, we need everybody to be able to get their eyeballs on the movie
Right.
and whatever the source material is without having to shell out a lot of dough. That's why we also don't cover movies that are in the theater.
Right. Same. Because it's so
they're
expensive
streaming.
now.
Yeah. So that's those are the rules. And that's it. Other than that, it's on the table. And also on the table is redos. If you look in our back catalog, like Margot said, that's on the Facebook group, you look at that post and you think like, oh, I didn't know they did, I don't know, Field of Dreams. And we would consider doing them again because the technology has evolved as we've been doing this for so long.
We got better and better at it.
And some of them warrant a second look.
Sure.
Sometimes we look at it again and kind of change how we feel about it.
Good point.
So if you really enjoy the show, maybe you want to hear some of those old episodes, you can also support us on Patreon.
Yes, Patreon. We have a couple of very affordable options. We have all of our episodes from 2023 and then previous to that are on our Patreon wall. The old ones are free. That's from the first couple of years. So go definitely check those out. Some of the ones we've put up recently, The 7-Year Itch, Gaslight, The Spy Who Loved Me, The Boys in the Band, National Lampoon's Vacation. Those are just some of them that are there. Also, you can sign up for free. And all the clips that we show on today on YouTube, we put them there because sometimes YouTube chops up our clips and stuff like that. So you can see that there. Also, we also put on Patreon, if you do pay, we put an episode there that's ad free. So you don't have to, because sometimes they insert the ads in crazy places and we have no control over that. So anyway, if you're considering it, do so. We'd love it. Or just sign up for free and just look at the clips.
Yeah. We're just having fun here. We just really, this is just a place to just escape and just have a lot of fun. Now, today's song, first of all, it's 25, 30 minutes long, depending on which version you listen to. So we wanted to give you a lot of bang for your buck. And also, talk about bang for your buck, the movie is available for free on YouTube right now. We will link it in our Facebook group for folks to be able to find it easily. Mm-hmm. And the song is written in 1967, or released in 1967, I should say. The movie comes out in 1969, but I really feel like we have to start all the way back in 1940. And now this is very apropos, I think, because I am in California and you, Margot, are on the New York Island.
I'm in Brooklyn.
Yeah. And Arlo Guthrie, is, I think he's like 20 years old when this song comes out.
Yeah,
right?
He's 20 and he's 22 when he makes the movie. He's a kid. He looks like a kid.
When I had a very one of my many points of privilege that I have, apart from like where I've grown up and all kinds of things. One of them is that I had the great fortune of getting a bilingual education in a public school when I was a kid. At a very, it's unthinkable now, the kind of education that I got to have for free. And I went to a school here in San Diego where half of the day was in English and half of the day was in Spanish, basically. And we would, I know, it was really amazing. Wow. And it was a very diverse school. We had a lot of just every kind of background, and immigrants and military families and just everybody. And we used to, it was called Nestor School, and I think it's still there. It's close to the border. And we used to begin the school day saying the Pledge of Allegiance, as children do every single day. And then we would sing 2 songs. Now, later, when I went to other schools, we would do this Pledge of Allegiance, and we would also sing songs. We would often sing like, You're a Grand Old Flag, or we'd sing like, God Bless America, stuff like that. And but at my first school, my first elementary school, it was always the same two songs every single day. And those two songs, I feel, and starting my day, I feel what I'm trying to say is having that be like such an integral part of my early education, I feel really shaped my worldview. And the two songs that we would begin every day with after saying the Pledge of Allegiance, liberty and justice for all, is we would sing, "This land is your land, this land is my land." We would sing that every single day. And if you don't know the history of that song, I encourage you to look it up. And then we would sing, unbelievably, because this is in the 1970s when people were still boycotting grapes. Then we would sing "De Colores" in Spanish, which is the anthem of the United Farm Workers Union.
Wow. Yeah,
in a
that's
public
not
school.
That's not the norm, y'all, in case you're
No.
wondering. We didn't get that on Long Island where I grew up.
That is how we started every day. And so those two songs are so important to me. And I just loved "This Land Is Your Land." I mean, I just thought it was such a great song, you know, and as a kindergartner, I really loved singing it every single day. And that song, written by Woody Guthrie, the famous scion of American folk music, was written as a response to, I believe it was a response to "God Bless America."
Mm-hmm.
And again, I encourage you to go and read the lyrics, listen to the song, learn a little bit about its history. But he was so influential on so many American giants of American music: Joan Baez, Pete Seeger, Bob Dylan, Springsteen, and on and on and on. It continues to have an influence. People are still performing "All You Fascists Are Bound to Lose," Billy Bragg, and also
Tom Morello.
Yeah, and he, sadly, you know, he had Huntington's disease. You know, he was born in 1912. He dies in 1967. He dies like the week that this song comes out, that Alice's Restaurant comes out, and it's like the same. It's like within days, I believe. And he was very, very ill with Huntington's disease, and I think he maybe tried to self-medicate. You know, he had a very complicated family history. He was married 3 times and had 8 children. His first wife, he had a son and 2 daughters, and the son was killed in a car accident. Is that right? Yeah, the son was killed in a car accident at 23, and the 2 daughters died also from Huntington's disease because it is hereditary.
Can't imagine.
I cannot either. They outlived him, but not by that much.
Right.
And then he marries Marjorie Greenblatt. That is Arlo's mom. So with her, he has 4 children: Arlo, Jody, Nora, and Kathy, who are, I think they're all still alive. But Nora is the one who manages the Woody Guthrie estate these days. And then we'll get back to Arlo. And then he, you know, his Huntington's disease made him very paranoid and dangerous to his family. And so, you know, it was the 50s, the dark ages compared to now. And although she loved him very much, I think she had to decide the family or Woody, and she chose the family. And although they remained very, very close, and then Woody marries another woman named Annika Van Kirk, and they have a daughter. That daughter is killed in a train accident, I believe it was. So he had 8 children, but only the ones that he had with Marjorie, the second wife, only they survived. And then he gets very, very sick, and they get divorced because the sickness makes him very, like I said, very difficult to live with and dangerous to himself and to others. And so he spends the latter part of his life in a hospital. And Marjorie, the middle wife, who's the parent, the mother of Arlo and and Jody and Nora and Kathy, she is really the one who takes care of him all the way up until his death, although they are no longer married. So that's why when we get to the film, that's why his mom is there. They weren't married, and he had married somebody else and had a kid since
But
in
then
the
they
interim.
divorced.
But then they divorced, and
Mhm.
so, but she's still looking after him and making sure that he's okay. So that's kind of the family that was around him, I think, when he died. I mean, we can't go into his whole like musical history because we'll be here all day. But Arlo, Arlo becomes, you know, there's the folk movement that's kind of started in the 60s. I mean, in the 50s. Woody Guthrie's predating that. Woody Guthrie's like back in the 40s. And he's influencing those folk musicians like Pete Seeger and Joe Baez
Peter,
and
Paul,
then
and Mary.
yeah, Peter, Paul, and Mary, absolutely, and who are bringing that folk music from the 50s into the 60s. And then Arlo is also, you know, a really gifted songwriter and performer and musician, and like his sister Nora, um, a good steward, I think, of Woody Guthrie's legacy. And we'll talk a little bit about that right now. But if you've ever seen I cannot stress enough how young, like what a child Arlo Guthrie is, like when
He's
fame
a baby.
hits him like really fast. And also the point of all of that was to say that when Arlo Guthrie hits it really big, in 1967, around the time of Alice's Restaurant. He had other hits too, but this is kind of the thing that he's most known for. His father is dying. His father dies like that, like I say, within days of the song coming out. And there's a family legend that it's the last music that Woody Guthrie heard was this record. Which may or may not be true, but it's kind of sweet to think of.
Poignant.
I think he was not verbal at the end. You know, must have been just so, I can't even imagine how very difficult. So what I'm trying to say is he must have been, his whole family must have been in a tremendous state of grief, to say nothing of the fact that he's lost, I don't know, at that point he hasn't lost all of his siblings, but I think he's lost one or two of them. And you know, everything going on in the country with the war and all. Wow, it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's really a lot. And he's just a kid and he gets this massive, massive hit. He also had a hit with, it's a cover, but I was just hearing it on the radio this morning. His version of City of New Orleans.
I love it.
I love his version in particular is my favorite.
Yes,
It's really
me too.
super good. He also has a song called Massachusetts, which is the official folk song of the state of Massachusetts. In case you were wondering, I don't know if California has an official song or an official. Yeah, we'll look that up. If you have, or let alone an official folk song. I'm not sure what it would be. And maybe that song about going to San Francisco and flowers in your hair or something.
Scott McKenzie.
Yeah. But so he's born July 10th, pretty soon. His birthday is coming up, 1947, in Brooklyn. So let's talk a little bit about young Arlo Guthrie.
Yeah, so he's, like Margos said, 1947. He's from Coney Island. And, you know, by the time his father is Woody Guthrie, so he is a musician. He's obviously been raised with music and appreciating music. And here it is in the mid 60s, and he's figuring himself out. He goes to college in Massachusetts, and he kind of studies and he kind of is finding his way around, but it's the mid 60s. It's a lot. And my father, this is around this time, my parents were married. And even though they were married and they had a kid, the government was trying to draft my dad for some reason. They had some kind of a wild hair for my father. And he would talk about like he and friends who were constantly being called to be inducted. And he would have to say, no, I'm married. I have a child. Arlo's single. He's a kid. He's a teenager. And he was constantly, you know, young men at that time were very, very worried about being sent to Vietnam. We didn't know very much about it in 65, but we had a feeling it was going to be tough. Difficult.
It was not, yeah, the Korean War is not that far in the background. And I saw somebody was talking, some pundit I was watching recently was talking about how like the Korean War actually never officially ended.
Right.
It's still kind of going on. And so here we are coming into another quagmire of a foreign war without a lot of justification or very strong justification being given. The draft is still in effect. Yeah, I can't. And again, his father is dying from a
Right.
hereditary horrible disease that his sisters have. He doesn't know if he has it or not.
Right.
He's so it's a lot. It's a lot.
It's a lot. So he's in Stockbridge, Massachusetts, and he goes to school, and he becomes friendly with a woman, Alice Brock, and her husband. They were both teachers at the school, and
Yes, I watched a few. She is talk about a firecracker.
she died last year,
Yeah.
last November. So, and it's normally the song is played around Thanksgiving. So we'll probably replay this at Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
But
I saw
but
this
yeah.
morning. I was watching an interview with her, and so yes, she and her husband. She was they were educators at this school where Arlo Guthrie. They knew Arlo Guthrie from the time he was like 14. And she said in this interview, and who knows, she's not the most reliable narrator.
Nobody's a reliable narrator.
Nobody here is a
There's also a
reliable
lot
narrator.
of weed. There's a
And
lot of drugs
booze.
here and
Yeah,
booze.
she
Yes.
does not do the drugs, but she does really enjoy, as she will tell you, the whiskey and I think also tobacco cigarettes. But anyway, she was saying that so Alice Brock came from kind of a well-to-do family, and was a real, like I said, super. What's the word I'm looking for? I mean, she is a pistol. She's a force to be reckoned with, and not the stereotypical settle down, get married, have the 2.5 kids kind of a gal. And her family were a little bit like, "Ugh, what are we going to do with her?" And so, they help her get an education, and they helped her. I think they even helped her get this job at the school. And she was involved with Ray Brock, who was also an educator at the school.
And he was a little older than her.
He was
like
10
years
like
older.
10 years older than her.
Mhm.
But the thing was, she said she was not allowed to teach at the school unless she was married. So they were going to kick her out of the school unless she married. So she marries Ray. They weren't married that long.
No.
But they did move into an unconsecrated, or is it right? Unconsecrated.
Deconsecrated or
Something like that.
Yeah.
Church. They didn't like move into somebody's church that they were using. They bought a church that was no longer being used as a church. And they were genuinely like living in this old church. And she's the interview that I was watching. She was sitting at the table where they'd had this famed Thanksgiving dinner. And she said that she had traded some of the church pews for the table. She also shared that, she'd had some lovely adventures with men. Didn't say it was Ray per se. On
the table?
Also on the table. Okay.
It's the 60s.
It's the 60s. But she, contrary to the film's portrayal of her, which she was very unhappy with, and I could totally understand why, she insists that she was absolutely faithful to her husband while they were married. It wasn't for a long time. But there are a lot of things that actually happen that are in the song and in the movie. Because of the movie, she becomes a celebrity, which is also something she was not that interested in doing. And she did own a restaurant. As the song says, it was not called Alice's Restaurant, but it became very successful. And then she had another successful restaurant. She wasn't like a greatest businesswoman.
Mm-hmm.
And she even herself says she was kind of micromanagey. So also drank. So there's
like
that.
The whiskey, yeah.
But she was super successful, due in very large part to this song and film. And so came into some money. But didn't really know how to manage it. So she did achieve her parents' dream of becoming financially independent of them, but she didn't manage it all that well. But she's fine. She's landed on her feet, and then lived out the rest of her life as an artist. I think in Provincetown,
Provincetown.
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And she found her people there. Like that's where
Yeah.
she became an artist. She was very sick towards the end of her life. Like I said, she passed away last November. They had to do a GoFundMe to raise some funds for her, but they raised a lot of money for her. So she was,
Yeah, they did.
She was fine at the end. But yeah, so Arlo is this woman. She's only 7 years older than Arlo. So she's his teacher. He loves these people. That she and her. He was very close to them. He's in Massachusetts. His dad is dying in New York. And he's a young man. He's like trying to figure out and he wants to be a musician, and you got to go on the road and you got to kind of put yourself out there. And then he has all these different stressors. And
the shadow of his father's
who's
legendary career. Like, what's his name? What's Bob Dylan's son's name that was so cute? That
Jacob Dylan, who's gorgeous.
Yeah.
The Wallflowers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to be the son of somebody like that and have that last name, that's very catchy. Right. So in 1965, he and a buddy go to the church house that they lived in. And they really did they had a bunch of, if you listen to the song, and there's some fun versions on YouTube you could find that are illustrated, like people did their own thing with it, where they decided to take the junk out. They wanted to help Alice because they were very grateful for this beautiful Thanksgiving meal. So they take all this junk and they put it in the VW bus, and then the dump was closed because it was Thanksgiving. So then they found some kind of a ravine that already had some trash, and like, well, what's the big deal? This is before the 70s where all of a sudden pollution, people finally paid attention.
Oh yes, this is before Don't Be a Litter Bug and the crying Native American.
Right. Who may or may not have been Native American, but that's a whole other story. We'll talk about.
Great commercial.
It worked. It was branding and it worked. So yeah, that really, a lot of things, elements of the song really did happen. And that would be 1965. So he's 18 years old. And then 2 years later, he has this album. And as Margos said, his father passes away and he has this album come out at the same time, which is Bananas. And it's 18 and a half minutes. And it's funny because people said, oh, that's the same length of Nixon's missing 18 minutes, from this. But this is, 10 years before there was Watergate. Way before. Right. Yeah. It's coincidental.
He had performed the song live for like a year or two before it was put on vinyl. So, and he kind of became known for doing this song and this type of singing, these storytelling kind of. Look, I mean, he's very talented. It's very good. His singing and his playing and his songwriting, all super good. And so you can see why he had such a smash hit on his hands with this unlikely 20-some minute song.
Let's also say 1960, starting in the mid 1960s, there's album oriented rock. It's AM radio, and so you could play anything on there. I mean, they could have a song that was like 18 minutes long, and that would be the DJ would go to the bathroom or get a cigarette, or so they would play it for that reason. But people, it's a story song. It's just telling you a whole story, and by the time you're done with the story, you very much want to know this Alice person because he keeps talking about her. It's Alice's restaurant, and they have everything except Alice. You can't get her. So you get the idea she's a hottie. And but that he loves these people, and so then 2 years after that, and I was looking at the dates for everything. This movie comes out in August of '69. Woodstock is August of '69.
Yes,
he was at Woodstock.
Yes, if you've ever seen the Woodstock film, there's this and that performance, he doesn't perform this song, but that performance is super good too. He plays at like midnight. I forget at what point in the concerts, I can't keep track of Woodstock. But so he's in the film and he's still a baby in this movie.
He's rapping with the fuzz. That's what he talks about. I was rapping with the fuzz outside. This is all very 60s, but he seems like a very jovial, nice person.
Doesn't he seem like a sweetie? Yes. He was married to his wife for 43 years. And his kids are also musicians.
And
I
he
mean,
and he
and they're
married
very
some.
talented too.
Yeah, and he has a second marriage and was somebody he's known since like the 70s as well. So
Yeah.
he seems like a sentimental person. He seems like he's just a very nice man. It's this one song he's mainly known for. And so
Yeah.
and it's 18 minutes. I can see how after a while that would be like an albatross, like sort of like, okay,
Yes.
there's a big chunk of
So,
my show. I have
yeah.
to
So
do
he
this
stopped
thing.
performing it for a long time. And actually the film, and well, we'll talk more about him, the film part of his
Mhm.
career, but yeah, so he did although he's still performing today.
Mhm.
They all seem to be doing great. All of the Guthrie family, or at least this part of the Guthrie family. And yeah, so I could totally not see like not wanting to sing this song ever again.
I
And
absolutely understand
and
that.
then he kind of made the thing because people kept asking for it. People would threaten to leave his concerts and he would give them their money back because he was like, that's how adamant he was to not
Right.
want to sing this song again. But then like when it got to be big anniversaries of the song,
Mhm.
and also what we haven't talked about the lyrics too much, and we'll talk about that next, I think. It is a song about the absurdity of war, and but in this case the Vietnam War, but really of war in general, and the way that we run them and get into them, and send people to fight them. And that's really what the song is about.
Right. It's not
And
about Alice. It's more
right.
about the protest.
And so later on, when we got into like the Gulf War, and we got into the, all of this situation that we're in right now, he thought, maybe it's time to bring it back. And so every time it's like a big anniversary of the song, he will make the rounds and sing the song for the people who want to hear it. And he's adjusted it, the lyrics.
I think the F slur is gone.
The
I
F
hope.
slur is definitely gone. But it was, I should say too, that it was never meant as a slur. It
No,
doesn't sound like it at all in the original
no.
song.
He's talking about so he goes to, is it Whitehall Street,
Yes, it
the
is.
building
Uh-huh.
in
Yes,
New
it
York
is.
City, and
Yeah.
that's where they would send young men to be soldiers. But you would go and you get weighed. They would have a psychology test for you. And he, basically a lot of men, Ted Nugent was one of them. There's quite a few that said if you act really nuts, they wouldn't. Yeah, that was a strategy. Or if you said you were homosexual, you would then not be allowed to be in the military. And so a lot of men just said, "Yep, nope, that's not." Yeah,
Yeah. We have a friend, a very good family friend, who got out of the draft by pretending to be. He convinced them that he was a homosexual, and he was not.
and there were a lot of that fled to Canada. And then when Jimmy Carter became president, he pardoned all the people.
Yes, because they were criminals.
Right.
You mean he didn't hire a secret police force to hunt them down and kidnap them?
Nope, he just pardoned them. It's the Vietnam War is just probably the thing that tore America apart, and we're still getting the repercussions from it.
I think so. I do feel like it was a like in Catholic school, when we had to study the history of the church, they talked about the Great Schism. It does seem to be that, doesn't it? It's some great parting of ways in our culture. I mean, we've talked about so many different periods of American history in particular, where certain things like homosexuality and independent women, things like that come in and out of fashion and are accepted in varying degrees, going way back. But yeah, it's funny. I hadn't really thought about it till you said it just now, but that does seem to be a kind of critical point where it wasn't just about a cultural thing, and it became more of the cultural became more political.
Well, it was the war machine,
kind of never went back.
And it was the money that was made by going to war. And so there's that. It's a very crazy time in the 60s at this time. I mean, it's just like I said, so he has this song, it's very successful. Then they make this movie and he's starring in the movie, and we have Arthur Penn, who's the director. And you and I were talking off the air. We were saying, Penn, huh? You mean Bonnie and Clyde, and then this?
And then this. We decided this was where we were going to go.
It's an odd choice. And there's some actors in this movie that are professional actors, and there's people in this movie like the cop that he mentions in the story who said, "You're not making that movie with an actor. I am playing myself." And even though he's not much of an actor, I mean, it does add to the
It's fine because he's a cop, you know. I mean, if he was playing like,
right,
I don't know,
if he was
somebody's
playing
dad,
a priest or something,
I don't know about that, but it's fine.
But it's filmed in Stockbridge, Massachusetts. It's very much has that, you know, New England kind of flavor to it. And yeah, I mean, it's should we play the trailer and then start talking about this movie? Okay.
Let's do. Let's see here.
Hi, how you doing? I'm Arlo Guthrie, and you've probably listened to or heard about a thing called Alice's Restaurant. Now, as you know, Alice's Restaurant is about some friends of mine, Alice and Ray, who live in a church in Stockbridge, Massachusetts, where Alice ran her restaurant. Alice's Restaurant is not the name of the restaurant. It was the name of my song about the restaurant. You can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. And now, it's the name of a movie based on my song about Alice's Restaurant.
You hippie perversion!
What's that funny smell? What funny smell? It's all about that beautiful Thanksgiving dinner, which produced an incredible, amazing pile of garbage, which we tried real hard to dump at the dump. And which we ended up dumping off the side of a road, where we were caught red-handed by some local citizens and eventually confronted by none other than Officer Obie himself.
Kid, we found your name on an envelope at the bottom of a half a ton of garbage. Just want to know if you had any information about it.
Oh, yes, sir, Officer Obie. I cannot tell a lie. I put that envelope under that garbage.
You're both under arrest.
It's all about the subsequent full-scale police investigation, complete with 5 police officers, 3 police cars, 1 police dog, and 27 8x10 colored glossy photographs with a paragraph on the back of each one used as evidence at the subsequent trial, which resulted in my conviction. A black mark on my record, which eventually led me to my problems with the draft.
Turn your hat and cough. That ain't enough.
That's all I had. I mean, I'm sitting here on the Group W bench because you want to know if I'm moral enough to join the army, burn women, kids, houses, children, and villages after being a litter bug.
Kid, we don't like your kind. We're gonna send your fingerprints out to Washington.
So I'm inviting all of you to meet me and Alice and Ray and Officer Obie and all kinds of groovy people doing all kinds of groovy things that are all part of the Alice's Restaurant anti-massacree movement that you can join by digging this film or by singing the song in 4-part harmony with feeling. You can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. You can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant.
This is one of those 3-minute trailers, by the way. I should have warned.
He is a baby.
He's so cute.
He does a good job, I think.
He's very good. He's very good. He's a natural. I think he's done some acting since then.
Yes, I believe he has. I'm
gonna bring up the cast here. Let me put on my glasses. I want to read this cast list really quick.
There are so many uncredited performances in this film. It's
Unbelievable.
really hard to identify a lot of the people that are in it, sadly. But but the folks that we do know.
Yeah, I mean, well, so it's Arlo, of course, is himself. Pat Quinn as Alice. James Broderick, Matthew Broderick's father, by the way, and the dad from Family. He plays Ray Brock. Pete
I
Seeger.
love Family.
I loved
with
Family
Seda
too.
Thompson,
Oh, Christy
McNichol.
McNichol. I wanted to be Christy McNichol when I was a kid. Pete Seeger plays himself. Lee Hayes, Tina Chen. There. Oh my God. Joseph Bowley plays Woody Guthrie. James Hannon as himself, the blind judge, is actually in this. William Obenheim, the officer Obi. All these people. I mean, Emmett Walsh, which you saw as the drill sergeant. Shelley Plimpton is Reenie. She's like a teenage fan. That's Martha Plimpton's mother.
Yeah.
I mean, just Sylvia Davis is Marjorie Guthrie. There's some really great people, and there's also, I think, just some non-actors that are here as well.
I think so. There's the order of events is different in the movie than in the song, because the song is all about all of this, this very long folksy story about how he got arrested for littering, and because he got arrested for littering, he was deemed unfit to go and kill people in Vietnam. So, but the order of things is a little bit different because we have to have, more plot, if you will, if you want to call it that, in the movie. So when we start, I think we start out with him going to the draft office, right? No, or is that later on?
There's a couple of times he goes to the draft office.
Yeah. That's right. At the end. Yeah. So, he goes to draft office and then he decides to go to college.
Right.
There's this
That's
whole
where
sequence
he meets Alice,
where he goes to college. And in the movie, so he did actually go to college in Billings, Montana briefly. But in the movie, I think it's shown, it's a little bit different. Anyway, yeah, Alice and Ray are this kooky, slightly older couple. And they've known Arlo for a long time, just like the real Alice. And the real Alice is actually in this movie. She shows up here and there as as an extra. But Alice in the movie,
her relationship with Ray is, and I don't know if this is unintentional. I think we talk a lot now about women, and the happiest women are single women, and then I think it's widows. Seriously, but that the emotional toll that women put into relationships that are expected of us and I'm an oldest daughter. I don't know about you. Like,
I am also an oldest
right.
daughter.
That's also like part of that too. In that here she is, it's her idea for the restaurant, and she's married to this older man. He's 10 years older than her, but he thinks he's a teenager. And it's very odd because I always think it's the dad from Family. Like, and also,
I know it's hard not to think of him as that, but he's not that yet.
Right. And he was also in the Al Pacino movie, the we talked about
Dog Day Afternoon.
Yes, he's the cop in Dog Day Afternoon. So but he's playing he's like an overaged hippie, basically.
Yeah,
here.
which is he's doing a good job.
He's great. He's a great actor. But here's Alice, and she's like, it's like she married a child, basically. So she's the one that's like, I have to get this restaurant. I have to put it together. I have to get the menu together. I have to get the food. I have to cook the food. I have to serve the food. I have to be in charge of the money. And she's exhausted, and she's like, she's had it. And also, she has this earthy, sexy quality. So like everyone's also hot for her as well.
Yeah.
But there's a couple of scenes where she and her husband are trying to like have some time alone together in the hay in the attic, but there's all these people in there. But
meanwhile, he's invited like 20 kids into their place. And he, as I remember men doing at the time in the 70s, certainly, he would be like, oh, Alice can run the restaurant. Oh, Alice can cook for everybody. Oh, Alice can do this. Alice can do that. And Alice is like, anybody going to ask me if I want to, or if I'm busy, or
am I tired? Do I have time to bake a cake? She asks him to cut the cake, and he's sort of like, oh, it's I mean, I think it's also I think it's sort of like it's early talks of like women's rights and women all the labor that women put into relationships, like that's what she's putting into this thing. And so she's Alice in the story, you think like, oh, Alice, she's like, she loves this restaurant, and she's like, and in the movie, she's tired. Alice is tired.
Alice has not Alice is not great at picking men.
No, her picker is off.
No, she wanted, for whatever reason. Yeah, Alice's like a story arc is just of this woman who um is, one, born in the wrong time, not a lot of options for autonomy, and two, real bad at picking the men. And um she okay, Arlo, and this is all stuff that's added in the film that has
Mhm.
nothing to do with the song and certainly nothing to do with the real people involved whatsoever. As we said, Alice Brock, who was married to Ray Brock, absolutely swears up and down that she was never unfaithful to Ray. They were not married for very long.
No,
they
and by the way, they got divorced
Yeah.
by the time the song came out.
Yes. Well, no, when
When the movie came out. Right.
when
When they filmed the movie.
the day they filmed the wedding in the movie, I think is the day that their divorce was finalized.
Right,
So
that's it.
it was not a long marriage. They did not have kids, and but she insists that they were not unfaithful to each other. She also said, I think she also says of him that he was not unfaithful. Anyway, so that's like, she keeps throwing herself at these young men that her husband keeps bringing into their place and forcing her to cook and clean for. And Arlo shows up, and he knows these people too. He knows these young people as well. We don't get the backstory about like Ray and Alice being the educators and knowing them that way, but it's fine. And there's one friend of Arlo's who is struggling with heroin, and
Not in the song.
not in the song, and by all accounts not in the story, in the real story at all. And Alice is carrying on an affair with him and thinking that somehow she is going to be his cure for his heroin addiction. Like, okay, Alice.
She takes on a lot.
Alice. And then at some point she also like tries to sleep with Arlo, which yeah. So I get it. I get why Alice Brock was like less than thrilled. And Arlo Guthrie too is like, it's not exactly my vision, but okay. And but they both made money off of the whole enterprise. And there was I read some animosity that on the set, Arlo had like a limousine and everybody else had like to get themselves to and from the set.
Oh.
Which I could understand, like being Alice, maybe we could get Alice a car, like,
yeah,
maybe she should just have a car, couldn't be that hard. And so there was a little bit of animosity, but nothing big. They remained friends to the very end. And the actual church is now the Guthrie Center. And it continues to preserve American folk music with performances and exhibits. And so, a really cool legacy, which is maybe slightly besmirched by this film. That's what I'm saying.
Should we play the clip? Because also what he's dealing with is his father is dying. So every once in a while he goes home to New York.
I like that it includes that.
I do too.
Yeah.
So we have a scene, and it's not. His father's dead at this point, so there's an actor playing him. Yes. But it is Pete Seeger that's in the room with him.
Yeah, who was a friend of the family and almost certainly would have been. So there's no announcement like, oh, hey, it's Pete Seeger. Arlo and remember, people at the time knew who all these people were, right. So there was no need to like point out that it's Pete Seeger and be like, hi, Pete Seeger.
It would be like Bono showing up basically in a movie. Basically. Like, you don't have to explain who that is.
It's fine. We know who he is.
Or Springsteen or whatever you want to say.
So there's multiple scenes. And this is what it's like when you have a parent who is sick. There's multiple scenes where Arlo goes and like sees how he's doing. Oh, he's not doing any better. And oh God, he hasn't talked in so long. And oh gosh, and he's really not getting better. And the mom's like, no, he's not. And he goes back and forth. And one time he just walks into the hospital room and there's Pete Seeger singing to his dad. Here we go.
I Worked in your orchards of peaches and prunes. Slept on the ground neath the light of the moon. On the edge of
How's he doing?
your city.
It was getting worse, but now he seems fine again. We just don't know what to expect or when.
The wind. California, Arizona, make all your crops. Then it's up north to Oregon to gather your hops. Dig the beets from your ground, cut the grapes from your vine, to put on your table that light sparkling wine.
I don't know how he could play those scenes like that. That cannot have been easy.
2 years since he lost his father. I mean,
Oof.
that would be. You and I both lost our fathers. I mean,
Yeah.
that would be. I can't imagine that. I think that would be
And
rough emotionally.
not knowing, and he brings up, I like this, that when he's in the draft office and they're asking him about, they're taking his medical history, and he's like, yeah, hey, my dad has Huntington's.
And my sisters.
And my sisters have it, and we know that it runs in the family, just FYI. And they're like, well, you don't have it. And he's like,
and he never got it, by the way.
He never did. But
Thankfully.
at this point in his life, when he's still
he
a
doesn't
baby,
know.
he doesn't know. I mean, good. I was very impressed.
This is all
they
real.
included this.
Like when you're watching this, because it's sort of like, what do you mean Pete Seeger and Woody Guthrie in a hospital together? That really happened. That's his life. Like that's the inspiration for what they're doing.
Yeah.
So yeah, he has one friend that has problems with drugs. He has another friend that hangs out with him that is like his sidekick, and then
he's the one that's in the song that they drive together in the VW minibus, and the dump is closed. So it's a meandery, like the song, it's an hour and 50 minutes. The pacing's a little touch and go. The song has better pacing than the movie.
Yeah, the movie is a little, can we play another one real quick?
Yeah, let's play another one.
The wedding one. Let's do the wedding clip.
Okay, cool.
Shall leave father and mother, and shall cleave to his wife, and they shall be two in one flesh. Alice, do you take this man to be your lawful loving man? For bad or for better, for drunk or for sober, for high or for lower, for husband and lover, today and tomorrow, till death do you part.
I do.
Ray, do you take this woman to be your ever-wedded woman, for bitchy and giving, for love and for living, in peace and dissension, in health and affliction, today and tomorrow, till death do you part?
I do.
Yeah. That's why. Now you man and wife.
Gee, I wonder what decade that is.
So this is the end of the movie. The movie ends with it's an interesting choice. The movie ends with all of the sleeping around and everything that's happening. It ends with Alice and Ray deciding to get married again in the church, they've now fixed up a bit, with all of these kooky, groovy kids. But then the actual final shot of the film is Alice alone in her wedding dress on the steps of the church, looking off into the distance, certainly dressed the part, but you could see on her face is like,
What
is
did I
this
do?
actually what is this all there is? You know,
That all there is.
yeah.
Yeah, she's thinking of her choices. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
women weren't allowed to have a credit card. Women, I mean,
Still at this point, no, they are not.
no, I
No.
mean, you have limited options, and so she's going with, she loves him. I mean, is she happy? She's going along with it. They have a
Mhm.
restaurant together. They have a life together. They have mutual friends. They like where they live. You're always just taking a shot, right?
Yep.
That's all it is.
Yep.
And yeah, I wish I had a clip of. I do like the induction scenes where the second time he goes back, and he goes down to his underwear and he has to
Yes.
yes.
I think that's all really well done.
Yeah.
Um,
Which we saw in the trailer, like he's in his
Yes.
underwear, and then so he's sitting there, and they're sort of like decided like there's a screw loose with this guy, so they have like a room for guys like that, and he's trying to like figure his way to fit in, and then they eventually like all become friends, but it's all these terrified 18 to 20-year-olds like wondering, how do I get out of this? What are they putting me into? Because
yeah.
as I said, it was a quagmire, Vietnam. It was a terrifying.
Certainly by this point,
yes, we
in
knew.
69, we knew we were in trouble. Yeah, there's a lot of fun moments in this movie, and I think Arlo Guthrie does an awesome job. I think the music is good. I just don't understand the choices with the character of Alice. I mean, I understand to a certain degree. I like that we have Alice. She's too old. She's older than these people, so she doesn't have as much of a future ahead of her as they have, right? She only has so many options, as you said, and she's grappling with that. By sleeping with these men, that part I don't know. She contends that that's kind, the real Alice is such a fascinating person. She really made a very great success as a restaurateur. And then, she lost it. She had one restaurant that like really blew up, and it was there for a long time. And I forget, something happened that was kind of beyond her control. And then she had to close it. And like I said, she eventually just kind of became an artist. But she definitely, with all of the constraints that she had on her, she seemed to have found a way she'd always live life on her own terms.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a shame that it got, that's how that was interpreted by the men who wrote this screenplay.
And it's the men that are in charge of the storytelling about this woman. And she's very independent. She's her own person. They're taking a song and they're making it into an almost 2-hour movie. They have to kind of stretch the truth a bit to make it make sense. I don't know. I think it's perfectly fine.
Oh yeah.
I think the song is more fun than the movie.
I think
the song.
They both make the same point, but I like it sounds weird to say it about a 20-minute song. I like the clarity of the message of the song better. He's able to weave in all these extra characters and seemingly meandery subplots, but it's going someplace definite in a way that brings you along and really drives the message of the song home. Whereas with the movie, there's a lot that's muddying the water. We're trying to just squeeze all of the 60s. We've got motorcycles, so yeah, there's like the whole thing with the motorcycle racing. Like, why are we doing that? I think the real Ray did do motorcycle. It was a motorcycle enthusiast. But yeah, like the whole drug thing is a real bummer, and we go from having it be the lighthearted. The thing about the song is that it's this lighthearted, like la 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 la. Oh, war.
The tone is consistent. It's a very inconsistent tone here.
Yes. Exactly. And so I think everybody's doing a good job.
Yeah.
It's really just the script that I object to.
It's just a little messy.
It's messy. And even like the direction is okay. It's fine.
But I wouldn't think this is the person.
Clyde.
Right. I was like, this is not an auteur. I mean, Arthur Penn is a very good director. I'm not quite sure what's going on here.
I don't know.
Once again, it's the 60s. It's like, it could be a lot of different things.
We're trying things. Yeah. So for me, it's the song.
The song.
Although I enjoy this, I did enjoy watching it. I was, it was thought provoking, like the song, considering it's 1969, 1968 when we're still filming this. The first time when he's in the draft office, when he's talking about having Huntington's in the family, there is an allusion to somebody either being gay or pretending to be gay.
He's knitting,
and he takes his knitting up to the desk, but that's it. He doesn't say anything.
But that's enough code at the time that somebody would be like, okay.
But it's not mocking, is what I'm saying. Like, it's not mocking gays.
I understand it.
Yeah. I was like, oh, interesting choice. I kind of like, wow. So I really liked that. And the women are kind of interesting as it's a study of, again, the times and what kind of a world it was for women who were getting more education than they had before, but not getting more opportunities than they had before. And in some ways they're viewed more as equals, but in other ways you have this like groupie, like, what is she doing? Trying to sleep with, a teenage folks. What are you doing, kid? And it's not done in a way that's mocking them either. It's just like this is what's going on, but you got to pick a lane.
Yes. It's trying to say a lot.
It's we're cramming so much into this thing.
Yeah.
So much.
And the song was a little bit more clear about, what it was about.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. I want to play the funeral song because I think it's a good example of what we're talking about here. Should we play it is it our last clip? Did we play it?
That's the last clip.
Okay. We'll play it on the way out and you'll see what we mean. Like, all of a sudden the thing screeches to a halt. Like I said, we have this one character who's dealing with a heroin addiction, is also sleeping with Alice. And he overdoses, and everything screeches to a halt with this song. I mean, it's not a bad song.
It's a Joni Mitchell song.
Yeah, it's a good song. It's well written. It's kind of jammed in there. So
we'll play it for you.
Yeah.
Before the credits. Yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff I liked. There was a lot of choices that I liked. I like where Arlo is because Arlo gets kicked out of school, which means now he's eligible for the draft. So he it's all about this tension of, ooh, is he going to be drafted now? So a lot of the movie is that, like, he's got to stay in school, and now he's not in school. So now he's sort of just at loose ends. And unless something happens, he's going to be eligible for the draft. Anybody watching it at the time is gonna know that. I like that scene where he's like walking by the tent revival, the evangelical guy in the tent. Yes. And he's kind of thinking about his father's life on the road as a musician, and kind of wondering, like, is this the kind of life that I want? And what did he see when he came through this America? And so I like those bits, but yeah, it's a little too much.
It's a lot.
Little too much. We need to just tidy this up a bit. And
yep.
So yeah, song.
But
I enjoyed the film. It's still worth seeing.
Oh, absolutely. And this was a really fun discussion.
Yeah.
I like talking about it.
I enjoyed learning about all these people that I didn't really know that much about.
Yeah.
Let's talk about what we're doing next.
So there's a new documentary. As the time that we're taping it, it's new. It's on HBO Max. I think they're going back to HBO Max. Who knows? Anyway,
we'll find it.
Mariska Hargitay has a documentary that she directed. It's about her mother, Jane Mansfield, and it's called My Mom, Jane. And I saw it the other night, cried my eyes out. It's really beautifully done. And we just decided, like, maybe there's a Jane Mansfield movie that we could talk about. So we're going to be talking about The Girl Can't Help It. And I've already forgotten, Margot, like, what is this based on? It's based on a short story.
It's based on a short story by Garson Kanin, who we talked about when we talked about Born Yesterday with Judy Holliday.
That makes sense.
Garson Kanin and Ruth Gordon. Ruth Gordon, who we all know as Maude from Harold and Maude, but she's also a brilliant writer.
And Rosemary's Baby. That's another one we've covered. Yeah.
So Garson Kanin wrote this short story called Do Re Mi. It was published in the Atlantic. I don't know if it was originally published in the Atlantic. Anyway, I found it. I will put it in the Facebook group. And also the movie is on, I think is on YouTube here. And we'll also share that with y'all as well. There are some incredible music guests in that movie, including Little Richard, Fats Domino. There's another one that I'm forgetting. Not Gene Tierney. What's your name?
Gene Pitney?
Gosh. Gene Pitney. Thank you. Gene Tierney is Laura. Gene Pitney, who I love. And I found a wonderful clip of John Waters talking about this film. I'm so excited to see it again. I haven't seen it in a really, really long time. And it stars Jane Mansfield and the guy who was in the 7-Year Itch, which we also talked, Tom Yule, with Marilyn Monroe. So he's also terrific. We don't talk about him enough, I feel. Very excited to talk about The Girl Can't Help It. I also really love that song.
I love Little Richard.
And I'm very excited. And I haven't seen the documentary yet. I'm dying to see the documentary. I am obsessed. I love Jane Mansfield. Sometime when I was a kid, I saw they used to run the old episodes of This Is Your Life.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Did you ever see the TV movie with Lonnie Anderson and Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Yes.
I remember that. Yeah.
Lonnie Anderson film. And around the same time, I saw This Is Your Life with Jane Mansfield. And I was blown away. I was a kid. I was blown away by how brilliant she was, and educated, and wow. So excited to talk about Jane Mansfield next week. Not quite sure which day yet. We're still
figuring that out.
And Margot, where can people find you online?
Well, let me just repeat that all those places I mentioned at the top of the show, social media wise, we're always looking for suggestions. So please reach out to us. Our email, once again, is bookversusmoviepodcast@gmail.com. And Margot, where can they find you?
Oh, well, you can find me online at She's Not Your Mama. That's everywhere. I'm She's Not Your Mama, all my social media call outs. And my book and so on is at coloniabook.com. And where can they find you?
I'm at brooklynfitchick.com. I'm at brooklynfitchick for Threads and Instagram. I'm at Brooklyn Margot for Blue Sky and TikTok. And my YouTube is at my name, Margot Donahue. All right, everybody, we're going to play one more clip and then the credits. Thank you so much for listening.
Apologies in advance. It's kind of a bummer. Let me find it. Where is it? It's that one. It's a beautiful song, but it's not. Here we go.
By the throbbing light machine, in a tea leaf trance, or under orders from the king and queen. Songs to aging children come. Aging children, I am one. People hurry by so quickly, don't they hear the melodies in the whining and the clicking and the laughing harmonies? children come, aging children.